Picture this, you've just made your final debt payment. Maybe it's a credit card, maybe it's a student loan that followed you around for a decade. You hit submit, you watch the balance drop to zero, and you wait for some kind of signal that everything is different now, and then nothing. The app closes. The next day arrives, and nobody tells you what to do next. Now pause for a second, because what happens in the next 90 days after you pay off your debt is what quietly determines whether you build real wealth or stay in the exact same financial position. That moment right there, that empty space after the last payment, is one of the most misunderstood financial moments of your life, and almost no one explains what actually happens inside it. Today we're breaking that down, what actually changes after you pay off debt, what doesn't change, the hidden mistakes people make without realizing it, and what the smartest move looks like the day, the week, and the year after that final balance hits zero, because paying off debt feels like the finish line. But in reality, it's the starting point. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly what happens next, and how to make sure it actually works in your favor. And if we haven't met before, I'm Frugal Fred, and this is exactly the kind of financial decision most people don't realize they're making. Let's start with what actually changes the moment your debt hits zero. Not emotionally, not psychologically, practically. Here's what happens. Your income doesn't change. Your job doesn't change. Your life from the outside looks almost identical, but one thing quietly shifts underneath everything. Your cash flow, the money that used to leave your account every single month, stops. And this is where most people misunderstand what's happening, because they think, I'm free now. But that's not entirely true. You're not free yet. You've just created space. And what fills that space determines everything. Here's where this gets dangerous. Take someone like Sasha. She's 33, works in HR for a mid-sized company, makes around $62,000 a year. Nothing flashy, steady, predictable. The kind of job where you know roughly what your next 5 years look like. She meal preps most Sundays, uses a budgeting app, tries to stay on top of things. From the outside, she looks like she has it together, but for years, her money has been going in the same direction. A couple of credit cards she picked up in her 20s, student loans she's been paying since her mid-20s, a car payment she's thought about paying off faster, but never quite got around to. Altogether, it's been just over $1,100 leaving her account every month for years. And then one day, it stops. She makes the final payment, closes the last account, and now that $1,100 is still there, but it's not assigned to anything anymore. And here's what happens next for most people. Not all at once, not dramatically, just quietly. A few small upgrades, slightly better dinners, a couple new subscriptions, maybe saying yes a little more often without thinking about it. Nothing extreme, nothing that feels irresponsible, but over time, that money disappears. And the worst part, you don't even notice it happening, and so does the opportunity. And if you've ever felt like your money disappears right after you get paid, this is exactly why. It's not always overspending, it's that your money finally has space, and without direction, it fills itself. Now let's look at what happens if that same situation goes differently. Meet Seth. He's 41, works in operations for a logistics company, makes about the same as Sasha, low to mid-60s, same kind of steady job, same kind of predictable income. For most of his 30s, his finances looked almost identical. Debt payments every month, same cycle, same slow progress, nothing dramatic. Then over about a year and a half, he decided to clear everything out. No big moment, no sudden raise, just consistency, one account at a time, and eventually he hit the same moment. No more payments, roughly $1,200 per month, now unassigned. And this is where things usually fall apart. But for him, it didn't, because he treated that moment differently. Quick definition here. He used something called the debt avalanche method to pay everything off, which just means focusing on the highest interest debt first. That helped him get there faster, but what mattered more was what happened after. Every payment he used to make didn't disappear. It got reassigned. Now pause, because this is the moment most people get wrong, and this is exactly what happens after you pay off debt. You either let your money drift or give it direction, and the difference between those two paths becomes massive over time. There are 3 things that quietly happen after people pay off debt, and almost nobody notices them. First, lifestyle creep. You feel like you earned it, and you did, but small upgrades compound just like investments do, just in reverse. Second, delayed action. People think, I'll start investing later, and later turns into years. Third, idle money, not in savings for a reason, just sitting, not growing, not compounding, losing time, and time is the one thing you don't get back. If you're the kind of person who actually wants to understand understand what's happening with your money instead of just reacting to it, hit like. It tells the algorithm to push this to more people who need it. So what does it actually look like to do this right? Let's go back to Seth. Instead of letting that $1,200 per month disappear, he followed a simple sequence. Nothing complicated, nothing extreme. First, he paused. For a few months, he rebuilt his emergency fund, about 6 months of living expenses in cash. Because if something goes wrong and you don't have that buffer, you end up right back in debt. Think of it like a safety net. Without it, every decision becomes riskier. Second, he captured his full 401k match. Quick definition, that's free money your employer gives you when you contribute to your retirement account. It's one of the few guaranteed returns you'll ever get. Third, he opened a Roth IRA, which is a retirement account where your investments grow completely tax-free. Over time, that becomes incredibly powerful. Then he set up automatic investments into a regular brokerage account. Nothing fancy, just consistent. Now here's the part most people never calculate. That $1,200 per month. If it's invested consistently over time, it can turn into hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think of this as a kind of hidden debt tax. Not what you owe, but what your money never gets the chance to become. And if you've been here before, you already know this is exactly how we think about money. Now here's where the difference really shows up. At first, nothing looks different. Same life, same income. But under the surface, things start to shift. The money starts working. Quietly at first, then faster, then noticeably. And this is where the gap really starts to show. At the beginning, it's invisible, but over time, it becomes impossible to ignore. And here's the part most people never hear. Paying off debt doesn't make you wealthy, it just stops you from staying stuck. What happens after that? That's where wealth is actually built. Most people don't lose after paying off debt, they just slowly stop winning. There are two types of people watching this right now. People who hear this, think that makes sense, and move on. And people who decide that this moment, the moment after debt, is where things change. The difference between those two people isn't income, it's action. Imagine yourself a few years from now, same income, same opportunities, but one version of you gave your money direction, and the other didn't. That gap doesn't feel big at first, but it grows, and it keeps growing. So if you're still in debt, understand this. The goal isn't just to get out, it's to be ready for what happens after, because that's where the real outcome is decided. And if you've already paid off your debt, then this is the most important question you can answer right now. Where does this money go next? Because what happens after you pay off debt is not automatic. It's decided. At some point, I'll probably break down exactly how to set up your money after debt, step by step, where it goes first, what to prioritize, and how to automate it. But for now, just make sure of one thing: your money has a direction. If you want to be the kind of person who actually uses moments like this to build real wealth, subscribe, because this channel is about making sure what happens next actually works in your favor. You did the hard part. Now make sure what happens after actually matters.